It's everybody's favorite time of year. Spring is coming, summer is upon us, and as good alcoholics and addicts, we all know what that means. Patio season. This is one of those things where it kind of sneaks up on you in that you don't really think that it's going to be a tough time comparatively to speaking to holidays and events and birthdays, celebrations. This is a tricky one because I talk to a lot of alcoholics in recovery that and new alcoholics in recovery that say that when they are walking by patios, it is one of the most triggering things to be a part of, to witness, because it looks so nice when people are just laughing and scratching and smiling and enjoying that nice cold beer on the patio. How do we get through this? Why should we care about patio season? And how do we go to a patio and enjoy ourselves while not being the boring sober guy that's miserable sitting there, or girl that's just existing? It is possible. And I've done it many times and it is fun. So it got nice on Friday. We went to a patio and we're sitting there. I was enjoying my soda water and I see this guy. It was on King Street, by the way, which I don't like going to, but King Street before 10 p.m. is actually a lot of fun. After 10 p.m., not so much. The real chads start to come out and people that you probably don't want to be around with in recovery. Or maybe you do. I don't recommend it. I see this guy across the street and he's looking real suspicious and he's getting into an Uber. And for some reason, I don't know if it was his demographic, his what he looked like, his appearance, the fact that it was Friday and it was a nice day, my brain immediately went to the thought that, oh, that guy's going to pick up cocaine. For sure. He's going to have a great night ahead of him. And then this feeling of envy and jealousy sort of starts to come up upon me. It's wild. A year and a half in, I don't understand these things. They don't make sense. I have no control over my thoughts. My first thought, I have control over the second thought and my action. But you can just laugh at it now and say, where did that come from? Why I'm spinning this story about this guy and immediately I'm like, oh, he gets to use cocaine and I don't. What a fucking asshole. What? Patios are triggering. They can be hard. They trigger us in different ways. And it comes when you least expect it. That's the tricky part. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. This is the episode that I wish I had before I went to my first patio season in sobriety, because nobody really tells you, like I said, about the quiet part of this calendar, the quiet part of your recovery where your friends are all going out to a patio and you want to go to. So it's April. Toronto's about to open for patios and many other East Coast cities, climates. If you're in recovery in the city, the next 6 weeks are important because you want to get through them. You never know when that one relapse can take you out for years. So let's get into it. Whether you're 6 days sober or 6 years sober or 6 hours sober, patio season doesn't give a fuck how much time you have. The people at the bar that you're probably hanging around with, most of them probably don't care about your recovery program. That's a broad statement, but the people I was hanging out with at patios and at clubs, they didn't give a fuck whether I was using or not. So I'm Anthony. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I am about a year and a half sober. I had 7.5 years. I came into recovery at 2015. I relapsed on ADHD medication and secrets, and I'm back now. This is my second patio season this time around, but I've had many in the past, and I've had a lot of personal experience with going out in recovery and staying sober and enjoying being content in the environment. So I want to tell you, this is practical stuff that I do. This is my experience. It's not a toolkit from a website or 5 steps to handle your patio season. This is just my lived experience. So hopefully you get something out of it, because you don't have to suffer through this summer season. You don't have to suffer and avoid the beach. You don't have to avoid patios. You don't have to avoid. I can go anywhere in the world as long as I'm on fit spiritual ground and my motive is right. That is the key. What is my motive before going to these events? So you're out with your friends. The waiter goes around and asks everybody what they want to drink. You're looking over the non-alcoholic options and they're usually, maybe there isn't some, maybe there is. Everybody orders a beer and it comes to you and the waiter goes, "What do you want, sir?" And I go, "I'll have a soda water," after all my friends just ordered beer. The guy looked at me and he kind of scoffed. He went, "Okay." I wanted to fucking knock the guy out. All my friends looked at me like I was going to say something and I just let it go. These are the things we have to deal with in recovery. I didn't let it bother me after that, but when it comes to fitting in and being in recovery, it's so important to try not to care about what other people are thinking about you. Nobody is noticing that you're not drinking. And if they are, they have a problem with alcohol. It's their problem. It's not your problem. Don't apologize for being in recovery and being sober. All you have to say is, "I just don't drink. I'm not drinking today. I don't drink. So there's a restlessness that sort of shows up about an hour or 2 hours in for me where I start to notice that people are on their second and third drinks, and maybe that voice in my head starts talking and I'm not being present. I start to notice that maybe someone looks at me and I assume that they know that I'm not drinking, and now I'm thinking that they're thinking that I'm a loser. It's not necessarily a craving or a obsession of the mind, but it's just feeling out of sync with the rest of the bars, feeling out of sync with the table, where you kind of just have to take a breath and say, no, no, my motive here, I'm here to enjoy conversation. I'm here to support my friend. I'm here to have a good time, get out of my house, not isolate. What is my motive? There's sort of a grief situation that's happening where you're missing the drink, or you think you're missing the drink, and then you're missing the version of yourself who used to belong on that patio. You're missing the version of yourself that used to belong on the beach, that used to belong with the drinking buddies, with the crowd, with the laughter and the chatter. And you think that you need a drink to participate. You don't. So, what I realized that day was that I wasn't grieving alcohol. I was grieving ease. I was grieving comfort. I was grieving relief that alcohol used to give me. Sobriety in the summer is the moment you find out how much your identity was actually tied to the weather, was weather dependent. And this is sort of a realization that you can have and just accept and move on. I'm a different person now. I am Anthony 2.0. I'm a new version. I don't need a drink to enjoy life. So this is to all the people that have sat at that patio or sat at that beach or that party or that backyard barbecue and felt like they didn't belong. They didn't fit in. They weren't accepted. What you think you're missing versus what you actually are. So the lie that patio season tells you is that everyone is having more fun than you. I'm on my own. No one else is not drinking. Everybody's drinking. I'm alone here. I'm separate. I'm not accepted. I'm the boring sober person. Whatever that narrative is in your head, that thought loop. The truth that nobody admits is that half the table is drinking to manage the exact same social anxiety that you have, that you're feeling right now. There's that moment where everybody kind of sits down and there's that discomfort that most people have that a drink makes go away. The difference between you and them is that they stop after 3 or 4 or 2 or 1. And we go into trap houses in Scarborough and pick up from our dealer or whatever it looks like for you, having 20 beers or drinking alone that night. That doesn't happen to the average person. The thing I missed wasn't the drink necessarily, it was permission. Permission to be loose, to be loud, to not monitor myself. You can do this. I do this in recovery. I force myself to be silly. I force myself to be outgoing myself. I just kind of let loose and let my guard down. You can do it without alcohol, but it takes practice. Sober patios force you to source that permission internally. Like I said, you need to find it within, not from the bottle, not from the bag. You need to dig deep and find it within. That's the work. And that's why it's very exhausting at first, because you're looking for this new identity, this permission to just be yourself in your skin at that moment. And it takes practice, like I said. When you picture yourself on a patio with a drink, are you picturing the drink, or are you picturing who you got to be when you had one? That version of yourself that alcohol allowed you to be or turned you into. What do you miss? Ask yourself that. Do I miss the alcohol or the cocaine, or do I miss the illusory freedom that it brought me? The ability to not be an adult for 3 hours and kick my shoes off and turn my phone off and not have responsibilities and kids and the world and work and just be present. So here's some of the things I actually do, practical tips. They're not rules. This is what I do. So take what works and leave the rest. First, eat a meal. Hungry, hot, social pleasure is a relapse triple threat. So it's basically HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Or am I tired? Try to cover those bases. Something I learned in early recovery, it's worth Googling and looking into if it strikes you. There's a lot of science behind people relapsing in one of these states. 2, decide your exit before you arrive. So have an exit plan. And you don't need to go and draft up a document in Google Docs. You don't need to type something out or write down something in your journal. You can if you want. It's effective, but I'll leave when it feels right. I'll leave whenever I want to leave. I'll leave when I've taken the pleasure out of the evening. Not an actual time, but text a sober friend so that it's witnessed. This is another way. Get someone to hold you accountable. Hey, I'm going to this thing. I'm scared. Sponsor is a great role for this. How do I have an exit plan? What do I do? If I get uncomfortable, what can I do? Do I have a ride home? Did I drive? Can I ride my bike? Can I get out of there safely without relapsing? Three, know what you're ordering before you sit down. So look at the menu. Maybe they have some non alcoholic beverages. I don't really drink non alcoholic beer because I was always taught non alcoholic beer is for non alcoholics. Now, that's not a judgment if you drink non alcoholic beer. For me, it's too close to beer, and I have no good reason to drink non alcoholic beer other than I want to get drunk or I want to vicariously steal pleasure from other people or this fake beer. That's just my experience, my opinion. If that helps you stay sober, more power to you. When you get there, seat selection matters more than people realize. So away from the bar, closer to the food, facing the street so you can people watch, something to look at that isn't everyone else's drink. If you're there for a game, be near a TV. I like to be near TVs. I like to have a motive when I go there. I'm going to watch the game. I am going to enjoy my social circle, the company of my social circle. Another thing you can do is try to order first your soda water with lime at the same time as their first round, so nobody notices. You can, sneak it in there quietly. I know for me, I've had moments in my recovery where it's come to me and I've been like, oh fuck, I'll get a soda water, and I'm just whispering, and the waiter goes, "What? What'd you say?" No one cares. Remember, if the people at the table don't know you have a problem with alcohol, you can just simply tell them that alcohol doesn't agree with you. I turned pro and retired early. I don't drink anymore. Don't overcomplicate the reasoning. You don't, and plus, nobody deserves a reason, anyways. But if they ask, those are some things you can say. Soda water is a good order. Non alcoholic beverages. I like Virgin Caesars because it looks like I'm having alcohol and people usually leave me alone. But I usually just get soda water and lime, and I enjoy that. So there's something called urge surfing that's helped me get through a lot of these moments. It's when the craving or the obsession, not craving, when the obsession hits mid patio, the sun is shining just right, the beer is looking extra cold, and you're just triggered to high hell. And you don't want to just share at the table that you're triggered because it's not socially acceptable. And maybe the people you're with don't know that you're in recovery. Maybe they're work friends. You're going for beers after work. Urge surfing is when you just sort of notice it. It's a concept that comes from Alan Marlett's relapse prevention work. It's evidence based, widely used in treatment. The short version is that cravings peak and fall like a wave. So they peak usually within 20 to 30 minutes, and then they fall if you don't feed them, if you don't buy into it, if you don't obsess about it and think about ways to get away with it. No one would know, and this and that. Just ride the wave. You don't have to fight the urge. You just have to outlast it. Be consistent and just ride the wave, like I said. Sometimes a bathroom break could help. 2 minutes alone, splash some water on your face and reset. Go back out there and you're good. Probably one of the most important parts is the exit. So leaving before the vibe shifts. Everybody in the world, I don't care who you are, there's a point in time at any bar or party where people just go over the deep end into zombie mode, whether it's with drugs or alcohol. People just change like that. Leave before that happens. There's a difference between a good sober patio and a relapse risk is often 45 minutes. So maybe leaving early could save your life. You never know. Something else is not going straight to bed when you get home. So the adrenaline takes a while to come down. I was at a concert last night and it took me a bit to fall asleep because I was all pumped up on social energy and music. I give myself a wind down ritual. So you can shower, journal. I do my daily inventory before I go to bed most nights. I read, calm yourself down, relax your nervous system. Here's the unglamorous truth, the unsexy truth is sometimes the better answer is to just not go. Sometimes. Early sobriety is not a time to prove anything to anyone. A patio will still be there in 6 months and you will be a different version of yourself to be able to handle that situation. So sometimes you just have to say no. I don't feel like going today. You don't have to give a reason even. I got to work on myself. Just say no. No is a full sentence. So the honest hard part is the longer you've been sober, the actually lonelier the patio season can get because people stop noticing that you're not drinking. They don't know you're in recovery, or sorry, they know you're in recovery and they don't really ask you how you're doing. They don't ask you. In the beginning, people used to ask me if it was okay that they drank in front of me. And of course I would always say yes. I don't want to make anyone adapt to me. Like I said, I'm coming here. I don't want anyone to change their behaviors for me. Sometimes people won't drink and that's okay. I should respect that too. But the longer you've been sober, the less people make space for your recovery, in my experience. So check in on yourself and just be aware of that. People don't necessarily ask you how you're doing the longer you've been sober because they know you as a sober guy and you look like you have it all together. People assume you're fine. They'll order around without asking. They'll do a shot in front of you and or maybe accidentally offer you a shot because they forget that you're in recovery or whatever. So here's the piece I had to learn the hard way. It's my job to stay connected to my recovery while on the patio or the beach or the rave or the festival. It's not my friend's job to curate my afternoon around me. It is my problem and my solution. It's not anybody else's responsibility to make sure that I'm okay and not triggered. That's the harsh truth. So the version of me that had 7.5 years of recovery, then was going to patios and raves and concerts. I'm s- I was not as careful back then when I relapsed because I had already been having secrets and not telling people how I was feeling, and I was showing up as a stage character. I was presenting a mask to people, but I don't care how long I have sober. It'll always be that big, just as big as a threat. Relapse happens when I'm not thinking about relapse. It happens in those quiet moments when I am not focusing on drinking. It just comes out of nowhere. So I need to be vigilant of that no matter how long I have in recovery. It gets easier. Yes, the voice gets quieter in my mind about, hey, that's a good idea. You should drink. The voice gets quieter, but it's always there. The potential for relapse is there anytime. Doesn't matter how long I have in recovery. So I want to bring it back to you. You're going to get through this summer. The first one is usually the hardest. There's a lot of firsts in recoveries. First patio is a first in recovery. First rave sober, first barbecue sober, first cookout sober, whatever your thing is. There's always going to be firsts. But once you get through that first one, then you know how to get through the second ones. And again, it comes with practice and repetition, learning your triggers. And oh, being on King Street triggers me. So I got to be hyper aware. I got to start talking to God earlier. I got to start praying or calling people in recovery when I get triggered because I'm going to get triggered on King Street. It just happens. I used to party there a lot. I spent a lot of time drinking and using on that street and those bars and bar hopping. Respect that. If you're sitting with a soda water or a virgin drink or a non alcoholic beverage this weekend, feeling like a stranger at your own table, I've been there, man. I know what that feels like. You're not doing it wrong. You're just learning new situations. You're learning, you're adapting to your environment as a new sober person. Your identity is still forming because you, for a long time, we build up these identities of the drunk, fun guy or mess guy or the guy who always has the bag. That was me. I always had the bag on me. I always had drugs on me. You're leaving that past behind. You're peeling off the layers of the onion and you're becoming a new person, a new version of yourself. You're building a new life. Go easy on yourself. It's not, none of this stuff is easy, but it is simple. So leave a comment below or send me a message about your patio story or your summer drinking story or how you stayed sober, how you relapsed. I want to hear from you. If you liked this episode, please follow on Spotify. I have a lot of people that are listening that aren't following. I would appreciate if you could follow and rate the podcast, and the same with YouTube. I love every single one of you. Remember, recovery is simple, but it's not easy.